My name is Christine. I decided to do my paper on the topic of Korean entertainers in the K pop music industry and basically the not so attractive parts of it that I feel like doesn't get enough attention as it should. So, just to introduce my paper, basically, K pop is South Korea's popular music that has experienced tremendous growth and popularity within the recent years. It has been so successful that it has expanded into mainstream music all around the world. And because of this, K pop has created a booming market for South Korea. K pop music includes a variety of different music styles, such as pop, hip hop, R&B, electronic, rap, and rock. And something that I noticed through my research is that Korea's success of K pop has been very strategic. They've put a lot of money and effort into creating a business that appeals to a huge audience and is actually able to keep that audience interested. So, everything that they put into this music industry has been very, in a way, planned and very catered to making sure that these stars are successful and that they're appealing to other people. So, with that information, I basically started to wonder at what cost does all of this success come at? And with that, I formed my research question to be: how are entertainers treated in South Korea by their management? What do candidates have to do to become a Korean pop star? And what kind of regulations are placed on their lives because of their spot in popular culture? I hypothesize that entertainers are treated very poorly by their management. I base this information off of pretty much a conversation that I had with a friend where she had told me about Korean pop stars having extremely controlled lives. So before this class and conversation with my friend, I honestly never really knew much about K pop just because it's something that I never really got into, something that I never really knew much about because none of my friends really were into K pop either. So, this conversation with my friend was pretty much the first introduction that I had to the topic of K pop and the things that she told me about the regulations on their lives were pretty shocking to me. And it was interesting and something that I wanted to look more into. And pretty much the things that she told me was that they have really strict diets, they have a lot of dating restrictions, they undergo really intense training for their job, and they have crazy long work hours. And from this information, I came up with my thesis to be that Korean pop stars have many strict regulations placed on their lives, beginning from their training process to their role as entertainers in popular culture. Their personal lives, professional lives, and their overall image are controlled in a way to ensure that the public does not lose interest in them. For my research, I used a combination of website articles and journal articles. I decided to use website articles because website articles gave me relevant information and good examples on headlining stories that have happened recently within the Korean pop music industry. And I also wanted to use journal articles because the journal articles gave me academic information and reliable research on general topics of things such as research and looking at exactly what ways K-pop stars are treated unfairly by their management. I actually found a really interesting journal article that researched the history of K-pop stars suing their management companies, and it gave me specific examples of names of K-pop stars and exactly why they were suing their management companies and what the results of that suing was. And that's something that I discuss in my paper in further detail. And through my research and writing the outline of my paper, I found that K-pop stars actually begin really vigorous training programs even before they actually become a K-pop star. These people that are interested in being one and that want to work towards entering the talent systems pretty much have to apply and audition for these talent systems, and they have to get accepted into it. And once they're accepted, they pretty much go into training programs that are pretty comparable to boot camps. So, in these training programs, the candidates dorm together with other K pop stars or K pop star candidates, and they can spend up to 12 hours a day practicing their singing and dancing. And they're also taught other languages so that they can appeal to a larger audience. They are taught languages like English, Japanese, Chinese, and of course, Korean. And all at the same time, while in these training programs, they're also expected to go to school still and also do well in their school. So it's a lot for them to juggle, and it's a lot for these people to do. And especially these people train at a pretty young age. So it's just a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations that they have to meet. And then also, they put all of this effort and time into their training programs without even the guarantee that they'll ever be able to make a debut as a K pop star. So, hundreds of people go into these programs, and only a few that are considered the best of the group are chosen to move forward. So, I mean, these people can go into these training programs and put all this time and effort into it and not even get anything out of it. Another regulation that is put on K pop stars is dating regulations. So some management companies don't even allow them to date at all, and the ones that do are pretty strict about it. Another thing that I found is that the K-pop stars have immense pressure regarding their physical appearance, so much to the point that it's almost the norm for them to get cosmetic surgery in order to make them look more physically attractive. So they typically get a lot of things done, like nose jobs, shaving down their jaws, eyelid surgery is really common. So they do get a lot of procedures just to make sure that they're looking a certain way so that people think that they're attractive, because their image is a huge thing or a huge part of their success. And they want to make sure that they are meeting those expectations of them. And another thing that regards pressure of their physical appearance is that they, under contract and by their management, are forced to follow really strict diets to make sure that their body is always looking perfect. So they have pressure on the way that their face is supposed to look and the way that their body is supposed to look. So, I mean, as you can assume already, these constant and pretty unrealistic expectations of their physical appearance can have a really negative effect on their mental health. Another thing that I found is that K pop stars don't actually make as much money as they should, or that I feel like people would expect them to, because basically, as a K pop star, their management provides them housing and covers the cost of other things like food, clothes, and staff payments. So, with all of this, the management considers the stars to be pretty much under an ongoing debt towards the company. And the stars only receive a portion of their income, and the rest goes to the company as a means to compensate for the expenses that the company provides for them. But even with that, their management is pretty unfair about it. The management basically never views the debt as paid off. And another thing that I found is that since K pop stars have such strict and pretty ridiculous contracts with their management, it's commonly known as slave contracts. So, as you can see from the information that I presented to you, their contracts are pretty crazy and unfair, but the stars pretty much just deal with it because they want to keep their job and their position as a K pop star. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of instances where K pop stars have actually sued their management because of all of the crazy strict regulations that are put on them and things that the management enforces on them. And yeah, that is pretty much an overview of what my paper is and the research that I found.